No. What we were going to do is get all the family together.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, we'll do that sometime. Well,
we've got the folders ready.
Well, let's do it over
and what
Easter.
we want to do... Ah, that's a good idea.
I can film us sorting through
now,
them.
I'll tell you what,
fun.
that would be fun.
That would be fun.
Heather? Have?
Yeah.
We could put all the photos on the table and do what we said we'd try and do.
Oh, we could, yeah.
And if I film it
And
as
if
well,
Dave films
you
it while we're
people
doing
can
it.
comment on ones,
And
that'd be quite
it
good.
would be quite a nice...
Look down memory lane.
Yes.
Well, I think it'd be fun because
That'd
there'll
be
be
good.
comments flying. That,
And
my
Norman
God,
will be there as well.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It's
exactly
so
right,
so
yeah.
he
Oh
can
yeah,
add
because
stuff.
he'll be responsible for a lot of the photographs, and certainly he can throw things in.
Yeah, that'd be good.
You remember me when the west wind moves among the fields of barley. You can tell the sun in his jealous sky when we walked in fields of gold.
Basically, the idea of this is to sort of recall my younger years, where we lived and so on, and how things started out.
Among the fields of barley, in his arms she fell as her hair came down. Among the fields of
Dorian and I were born in Boscombe and lived in Rebick Road in a very cold house because we didn't have central heating, of course, and I can remember vividly waking up in the mornings and having to put a dressing gown on and put your socks on up to your knees just to try and keep warm. And the other vivid memory is Dor and I in the war got rickets because food was so poor in value. Poor in quality rather, and we weren't eating terribly well because his food was very scarce. Dor and I got rickets and we were taken to Gloucester Road Isolation Hospital and we were bathed in this vile brown gungy mush, and we were sat in this shitey colour, real shitey colour, yeah, honestly just like that, and all this stuff was all over our hair and all over our face and all over our bodies. So that's another memory, I'd forgotten about that one. The other thing I remember very silly about bedrooms is that Dad, because paint was so short in the wartime, that I had green walls with pink blobs all over it. It was absolutely horrendous. But it's funny what sort of things you do remember, but that's very vivid. Anyway, the other thing about our youth, Doreen will remember as well as me, I actually cut her hair in the back garden and made such a mess of it I got a clobbering, but probably deserved it on that occasion. Now, Rebick Road was Folkestone, and it was a great place to be a kid because you could play safely in the road and there were no threats from strangers and that sort of thing. And we also had the cemetery at the back of our garden, which, funny enough, was a great playground. Not so much amongst the graves, but all the trees and the bushes and things that ran around the cemetery. So Dave Kimber, a mate up the road, and I spent many, many hours just playing on bikes and in the woods itself. So basically that's the background. Tamworth Road was a very basic house, but quite good, nice little garden, and so things in that sense were pretty good. Dad, of course, wasn't around when Dora and I were very young, and the other vivid memory I do have is that she and I were waiting just up the road to see a figure coming down Wheaton Road, which in those days seemed like a very long road. It isn't, in fact, and we saw a figure coming down the road, which is our dad, because it was about, I would think it was probably 1946 when he came home. So we hadn't seen him in all that time that I remember anyway. Once he came home, I think things were slightly different there, so he did a bit of painting and we did a bit of alternate ends, and yeah, life wasn't too bad in those days. As I say, we were young. Right, just sort of reflecting back, having covered the wide span of years, Nan and Grandad were a really, really lovely, straightforward, ordinary, honest folk. They're both in service at some time with landed estates, basically. I think Randolph Churchill, my grandfather, mentioned, that was a big estate owner, and he and Nan must have met in service, where she was a cook and housekeeper. So quite well, I don't know, but it was one of the big estates. They moved to Folkestone, where Grandad really spent all the rest of his working life as a gardener, earning a modest income and managing to keep a house together. But the house was not luxurious, but it was comfortable and homely. It was gaslit, believe it or not. You had to go around and put the mantles out and carry a match around and pull a little wire thing to let the gas flow. And the other thing I do remember about their bedroom when I used to stay over was they had these wonderful heavy things which were like duvets, but they were all feather filled, and that was the warmest thing in the world, far warmer than back at home in Folkestone and Rebick Road. Anyway, that's the main thing about them in terms of what they did. Nan, the biggest memory of her is she had a pram, nothing to do with bays, but she'd go off into the common near the Bournemouth football ground and spend hours and hours picking blackberries and coming back with a whole pram full of blackberries, which she used to take to the greengrocers, and he would buy them off her for a fixed fee, and he'd then sell them punnet by punnet. So she made a few bob that way, but it was quite a sight to see her pushing her pram through Boscombe. She unfortunately died when I was about 17. I was on the way home and I thought I'll just pop and see Nan, and got in and she was dead in her chair, but very peaceful death, very peaceful. Grandad after that, he got on quite well. He actually got quite brave and he used to go off to Butlins on his own for a week or whatever. And he loved it. He had a jacket and full of badges from all the holiday camps that he managed to go to. So he quite enjoyed his latter years until eventually, I think he had a form of cancer and he died in Christchurch Hospital, which was very sad. And I missed them both dearly because I loved them dearly.
Talking with my father, he's talking with his son. And I don't need to look any farther for the one I have become. And he says, listen to that curlew. Oh, that's a sound I love to hear. It's a strange reflection that we look through, but it finally finds us here.
School was at the one at the top of Folkestone Hill called St James's. I do remember enjoying the school days there. Again, because I had some good mates, Dave Kimber, Alan Sparks and one or two others. So those years were actually pretty good. What else do I remember vividly? Right. Doreen tended to be very spoilt by Auntie Nen and Uncle Len. Not spoilt in the sense of being lavish with gift, but in a way they perhaps favoured Doreen. My Nan and Grandad, however, definitely favoured me. So if I wanted to go somewhere, I'd go to Nan and Grandad's, where I was always well received. Not that Auntie Nen and Uncle Len didn't receive me well as either, they really did, but I think Dor was comfortable with Auntie Nen's and I was comfortable with my Nan and Grandad. So, and what else did I like about Nan and Grandad's house in Tamworth Road at Folkestone was that at the end of the garden was a railway line. And of course, as the trains arrived, you could hear them coming, so you dash down the gardens, stand on the railings and see the Bournemouth Bell go through. That was really quite exciting. So that's basically the youngest years, as I say, and Dad coming home did change things, but I don't actually remember an awful lot about that period after he came home, strangely enough. Not until perhaps we moved away from Folkestone and went over to Christchurch. Where I went to school at the Christchurch Priory School down Wick Lane in Christchurch. Again, I remember those fairly fondly. The classroom had a great big open stove right in the middle of the classroom, and our lady teacher used to stand it with the back of her skirt out warming her back end while the rest of us further at the back of the class could feel the cold because the fire was very hot in the middle but cold at the outside. But having said that, again, they were good days. I enjoyed the school and had some good mates and had some good times. We eventually left Christchurch to go and live in Stroughton Park. This is where I went to the big boys' school, if you like. And I really enjoyed Summerby School as it was and still is. Why did I enjoy it? Because the sport was brilliant. I was into the football, the cricket, cross-country running, and I won the school cross-country. I played for the school football and cricket teams, and really, really enjoyed it. Academically, I also started to make progress. So I left school with enough exam passes, quite good grades, to join the civil service. I applied to go into Customs and Excise because I quite fancied the idea of boarding ships looking for contraband. Regrettably, there were just no vacancies at the time, and I was offered a choice, and it was the Inland Revenue. That was probably not on my top favourite list, but having said that, I then spent 43 years with the Inland Revenue and can't really complain because I did quite well in terms of promotions, and the money, whilst not brilliant, enabled us to live reasonably well. In those 43 years, Heather and I lived first at Parks. Well, first we lived in a flat at Churston, Bear Cross, which was nice for about a year. But then we managed to buy our own little bungalow in Parkson for £2,000 or thereabouts, which today sounds ridiculous, but it was a nice little place. Jeff was born there, and I remember distinctly him learning to walk there in the back room. And Dame came along with his little sailor hat in the garden, sat in the pram. I remember that vividly too. This was at Binney Road. Eventually, we got the chance to sell that for a small profit, probably about 500 or 600 quid from memory, and that was enough to allow us to move out to Wimborne, where a friend of mine, Terry Snell, knew of some buildings coming up at 4,000 and just a few hundred quid. So our £600-700 was just enough to pay a deposit on a house in Allenview Road, Wimborne. And we lived there, I'm going to say quite a few years because I can't remember how many. Heather would know, of course. She always does know these things. Dame, Jeff, had a good time in Allenview. I'm sure they'll remember that probably with some fondness. But the nice thing eventually, round about the time Louise was about to arrive in the world, we moved up to our existing house in off Cranfield Avenue in Birchdale Road. And it's the best thing we ever did because it's a lovely house, and I think all the kids have enjoyed being involved at Birchdale Road. As far as Auntie Nan, Uncle Len and Norman were concerned, they were mainly the next nearest relatives living in Folkestone, and the wonderful thing about Auntie Nan's house was the upstairs room where the whole family would spend a day over Christmas into the small hours. That would be games of cards and sarnies and chicken and all the bits and pieces, but the whole family came and it was wonderful. Got a lot of happy memories about the games of cards because it was all taken very seriously, but it was great fun. Jeffrey got drunk at one of these do's for the first time in his life, and he was no more than 3 and a bit years old. We found that he'd been crawling around the room supping from all the glasses that people had put by their tables while playing cards. The glasses were on the floor and he had been crawling around the room having a sip. From memory, we eventually got him to bed, and I think he slept for about 12 hours before he finally surfaced. It's funny looking back, but it was worrying at the time, but that was Jeff's first occasion of being stoned out of his mind. It really was. Does explain a lot, doesn't it? So those were Christmas at Nens. They were absolutely wonderful, and all the family enjoyed those. The earliest memory also is linked to that room. I can remember as a very, very young child somebody holding me up in the window of that room, which is about on the 3rd floor, I would guess, at Nan's house, 2nd or 3rd floor. And this was very early hours of the morning. I remember being held up at the window and looking out, and all I saw in more or less pitch black, because it was wartime and there were no lights on, was lorry after lorry after lorry, motorbikes, huge massive movement of troops. I think they were going from right to left, in other words towards Weymouth probably, somewhere like that, ready for the embarkation, I would think, for D-Day. But I've never seen anything like it before or since, but it went on for ages and ages. That's vivid. I can picture those lorries today in their khaki colours just going by. Just enough light to see them, if you like, but an amazing memory because it seemed to go on forever. It really did. Houses. Little bungalow in Parkson, bought for the exorbitant sum of 2,000, which I'd mentioned earlier. We left there when Damon was less than a year old and Jeffrey was coming up between 2 and 3, so we moved to Wimborne, Allen View Road, and had some very happy years there. What was nice about Allen View Road was that the view from the lounge through a big picture window looked out over open fields with beautiful trees in the distance, and at night when the sun was setting it was a really gorgeous view. Unfortunately, later on Allen View got developed on the wrong side of the road and got rather spoilt. But having said that, there were some good years there. I know Jeff and Dame had fun there, basically. Although we didn't have a big garden, there was plenty of things to do in the back garden, and we had friends up the road called the Drapers. And Mike and Sue had a son called Paul, who Jeff and Dame played with for many, many years, and they're still in contact, albeit very occasional now. It was a funny old place to live because the neighbours, we had the odd couple, a very nice chap called Phil Dean, who we got on really well with, but his wife was a bit difficult, and things didn't always go too well with her. But we survived it, and she didn't spoil things for us. We had a great time. Rod and Sieve, who was the Scandinavian, lovely girl, and she used to have us in fits with some of her English phrases like gymkhanas or the Horse of the Year show. She called horse hopping, and used to have us in stitches with that sort of thing. She was a really nice couple. So we had good neighbours, good friends, great place to be. Dame and Jeff attended Allenbourne Middle School from Allen View, and it wasn't really until we moved up to Birchdale that they basically would have then started to move into the school at QE. Louise was in mum's tum, as they say, as we moved up to Birchdale, so it was a bit of a stressful time for her, but all things went well, and we've had, 30 very happy years at Birchdale Road. So I've got no complaints there. I think we made the right move at the right time. All I remember is when we jumped from an £11,000 sell price to an £18,000 purchase price, it seemed enormous. Today, that would be a joke, but at the time, it was a lot of leap. But we coped and we managed, and we've done very, very well. So I'm very happy with that move. As regards Heather and I, we basically both worked in the tax office, and we met when Heather was just 16, coming up 17, her first job. And I was actually engaged at the time, but that didn't survive, and Heather and I got together, mainly through going to lunch out together and going skating with a group from the office, and that's how things started. She'll probably say that she has many regrets, but I don't think I have, because things have worked out extremely well for all of us. I think what happened is Mum and I met in the office, basically, but then, of course, the crowd of us used to go skating. And really, I suppose that's where we started. And then I'd started tagging myself on at lunchtime, where she and Mary used to meet up, and I'd go along and we'd eat in the canteen up the road or whatever it was. So I can't remember, was it Friends? Anyway, a little group of us used to go up to the... it was basically a civil service lunch place. Maybe the post office or the telephone office. Telephones, rather. Yeah. Probably, was it a telephone exchange? Yeah. Anyway, they had a canteen which all civil servants in the town, if they wanted to, could go there and get very reasonably priced meals. Yeah. And we did pretty well, actually. They were very well priced. So Mum and I used to sort of, I'd say, you go out for lunch? Yeah. Oh, I'll come up with you, if that's all right. And blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that was basically it. Mm-hmm. And of course, this was after her mum had died. You know, her mum died the first day she started work. You remember that? Yeah. So I suppose in a way that probably brought a lot of sympathy out from me, you know, and got made a link. I don't know. That's about all for that period of time, because we next moved up to Birchdale, where we've been for 30 years, and an awful lot's happened. Vis-a-vis Louise being born, Gemma being born, and the big surprise, Dominic being born. You could have thumped me with a wet pillow when I heard that Dom was about to arrive, but never regretted it, because he's a lovely lad like the rest of them. So we've been very, very lucky with our children, and they've made a huge thing in our life. I can't imagine life without them, so that's been the hugest bonus of them all. So haven't I been lucky? Things have done pretty well, all things considered.
Is that yours?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh.
I'll let you touch it then. And you can look at it as well.
Ooh, I got
And
you.
can
I
listen
got
to
you.
it.
How
I
do
got
you
ya.
listen to it?
You go. Oh, listen. You put your
But
hand on it and go, listen. Wobble
Yes.
shake. Wobble
You might have to just smack it against
What's
the
Ben
bit
got?
and make noise.
Harvey, what's Ben got?
Yeah, that's not very
What's
helpful.
Ben got? Hey, he's got that little motor about the train.
And a bat. We get to
Yeah.
Ben.
Ooh, don't get you.
Yeah, that's pretty horrible.
Try to
Go,
do
see.
the last one.
Oh, nice sound.
No, wait, I've got another one.
It's the Grim Reaper.
Do your normal one.
Nihilus monster. What did you do? Oh, yeah.
Harvey, yo, look at you.
And when I did do that thing where my eyes go white, did they go white?
Unfortunately, they were just off camera. I only got the top of your head. You'll have to do it again. That's a bit close.
They always hurt.
Does it?
Right. Oh.
Oh, right now. Oh.
Wolf Castle, Harmons Crosses, Harmons Cross of the box is where we are. This is all about.
Touch me in the morning, then just walk away. We don't have tomorrow, but we had yesterday. Wasn't it me who said that nothing good's gonna last forever?
Over this lifetime of mine, which has now gone just beyond 65 years, I have no complaints whatsoever. I think we've been very, very lucky, all of us, with our health and so on. And my crowning glory is my little place in France, which has always been a wonderful ambition. It's there and it exists, and I intend to try and enjoy it for however many years I have left in my teapot. That's it, really. What a life. Good night.
In the warm of the night, if I've got to be strong, don't you know I need to have tonight? When you're gone, till you go, I need to lie here and think about the last time that you touched me in the morning. Then just close the door. Leave me as you found me, empty like before. Hey, wasn't it yesterday we used to laugh at the wind behind us? Didn't we run away and hope the time wouldn't try to find us? Didn't we take each other to a place where no one's ever been? Yeah, I really need you near me tonight, 'cause you'll never take me there again. Let me watch you go with the sun in my eyes. We've seen how love can run out and see how it plays. If I've got to be strong, don't you know I need to have tonight? When you're gone, till you go, I need to
Right, after Twitch, in Twitch Town.
until the time your hands reach out and touch me.
football team in the world.